And welcome to Weather and Ag and Focus 106 in the afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki alongside our wonderful, talented Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And
Stop sucking up. I already brought the ice cream in.
You did. And Wonder Boy Meteorologist Justin Storm. How was your fourth?
I brought the drink tokens.
Yeah, but you're not even here.
That's why I brought them.
He'll be here tomorrow.
Did you guys have a good fourth? The weekend and
Indeed, it was good.
Yeah, it was probably a nice reprieve. I know there were some folks that took the whole time off, others that worked at least part of the time, if not more. I saw some sprayers from time to time in places where they could, and certainly saw a lot of planes in the air applying fungicide to canola and wheat in the central part of the state.
I'll tell you, we need some hot weather, and there is some coming, which is going to be great for growing degree days.
It will be. We're looking to see our corn get taller. In fact, I just sent a message to our farmers. I haven't been out there this last week and said, hey, how's our corn look? At this point, I have a feeling our corn is probably shoulder high to me. I think we bypassed the knee high situation a while ago. Yeah. I think we're there.
Glad we clarified shoulder height you.
Yes. Can't be the same for everyone.
Right. Yeah, it'll be a good week for corn, that's for sure. Start to turn humid towards the weekend as well. So I'm not looking forward to the heat because I got to be outside in it all day on Saturday and half of the day on Sunday. But it is what it is, right?
Drink plenty of vodka.
I was going to say water.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that'll hydrate. It'll hydrate you, and B, you'll be able to see the softball better. Because you'll have three of them.
You'll see more of them. Yeah, aim for the middle ball. That's what I tell my team.
In all seriousness, I will say that I did hear at the top of the hour news that there's spraying going on in many cities and municipalities in regards to mosquito spraying because West Nile has already been detected in Grand Forks. So we would like to make sure that continues. Nobody needs to see the West Nile virus pop up on anyone that they know or love. And so we want to make sure that folks are getting that weed pesticide control this time with mosquitoes. It's important.
No doubt. It's we haven't had we haven't had much hot weather. We've had the wet weather.
Right. We've had wet.
Now we're going to get the hot weather, and with
that's
when
it comes.
That's when it comes. In
Yes.
fact, today not too bad of a day. It's almost kind of a rinse and repeat from what we had over the weekend, where we had those scattered afternoon and evening showers develop. We'll see more of that today with highs in the low 80s. And winds generally light out of the west-northwest, about 5 to 15. We're currently in the upper 70s to near 80, so we'll rise up a few. I wouldn't be surprised. Some areas could top out 84, 85. Tonight we'll clear things out and drop down into the low 60s, and more of the same on Tuesday. Scattered late-day storms possible. Not as numerous, but still, I still think some areas could see some thunderstorm activity, about 84 tomorrow. And then mid-80s on Wednesday, upper 80s on Thursday, right around 90 or so on Friday. And then over the weekend, we'll have temperatures in the 90s as well. And the good news about the heat that's coming, just looking at some of our longer-term models, is they won't last more than a few days, and then we get a Canadian air mass clipping it off. And we'll get a nice Canadian air mass come in for a few days. Then we warm right back up. And we're going to kind of be on that road for a couple of weeks, it looks like.
So it's an Alberta clipper, but in the summer months?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. But at least we're not going to go into that long stretch of hot weather.
And I hope, I was just in a sales meeting downstairs and we were talking about the weather. And I said, with any luck, it means that in the summer months, I won't get stormed in somewhere. And they all kind of laugh because it's still great potential that I could. So nonetheless, that'll be Alberta clipper. Make sure it just brings cool temperatures, not snowfall. Thank you.
Well, it won't bring, yeah. Did you see, Justin, did you catch the records that were broken over the weekend out in the desert Southwest?
Oh, the temperatures down there?
Yeah.
Wasn't it the hottest temperature ever recorded?
In Vegas at 120. So can you imagine what it's like on the strip, on the concrete? Oh,
I'd rather not.
Oh, let's see. Phoenix broke a warm overnight low record. It only got down to 92. That's an all-time record for them for the warmest overnight low. 92 for a low. Yeah, it's a dry heat though.
It's dry heat.
It's a dry heat.
So
driest heat you'll ever see.
what are we facing for potential? Repeat the overnight lows again, because right now, if we have those warm days, we're just going to get that much more growth if we have warm nights.
60s at night.
That's not a bad thing.
Mid upper 60s.
Yeah. So that's, especially once we're over 70, that's pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see the corn take off, and it's going to really ripen the wheat. We've got folks that are fast approaching a wheat harvest, and the wheat crop looks good. It'd be nice if the commodity prices would come up. And that's actually something we'll talk about this Friday when Dr. Frayne Olson from NDSU joins us. He's an ag economist, and Frayne is well renowned for his global outlook and aspects, especially when it comes to the cereals market. So we'll talk to Frayne about what's going on with our wheat price, because it sort of sucks. Maybe we could get that be a little bit better. That'd be okay.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, this isn't one of those summers, it looks like, where you get the drought conditions along with the heat, because we're not going to hang on to the heat for that long. Now, if you have any travel plans going out in the western part of the state, their heat is going to be a little longer lasting. They're not going to get the full effect of these Canadian air masses that come in here. So, in fact,
they're on fire again.
Oh man, yeah, it's
so is Canada. Introduce the smoke.
Thus, the reason for the milky white haze to the skies. We've got some upper level Canadian smoke.
Doesn't smell like s'mores out there yet.
Not yet.
Not today.
It's aloft, so
okay.
That's a good
Eventually,
thing.
It's coming.
We'll mix a little down tomorrow, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the week with the smoke. But
okay.
But it's smoky. Wouldn't be summer without it, right?
Last couple of them, yeah.
Well, it also wouldn't be summer.
That's just the trend.
It also wouldn't be a summer without ice cream, and it is National Ice Cream Month. Have at it. Have as much as you want.
And you brought in Bridgette was kind enough to bring us some ice cream here at the studio.
Did made sure you're all good.
Thank you.
What kind of ice cream did you pick up today?
Well, she picked up a cold over the weekend thanks to her husband.
It's all those cigarettes again. It's okay, Bridgette.
We told her to quit. You got to lay off.
Some things are hard to shake.
Lay off the Marlboros.
I had one cigar.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Oh man. No, but it is National Ice Cream Month, so she was nice enough to bring us those in.
I'll be having a bowl of ice cream later. We actually had some ice cream yesterday. We stopped over at Dairy Queen, and they got their new Blizzards out, so we were trying out their new peanut butter ones.
Ooh, how was
Pretty
that?
good. Pretty good. Oh, it was super good. It's peanut butter cookie dough party.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
How much are Blizzards now? I haven't gotten one in a few years.
Oh,
do you remember?
It was $5.60, I think, for a small, but I swear it wasn't more than 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I went and got a small Blizzard, and it was $7.20. So maybe they've come down a little bit, but yeah, it's over $5 for a small.
That's insane. Wow. And let's see, what else do we have going on? We've got our guest Marsha Van Leare. She'll be coming on here with the Gowan Company.
She's with Gowan Co. We'll be talking about the fungicide timing and if it's a good or bad thing on our corn, if we should go for it or whatnot. And that's for today. That's our guest coming up at 1:20, and then a few topics we'll be touching on today, or try and squeeze in here, would be that 4 states are testing for bird flu and livestock tax in Denmark are 2 of the topics we'll get to, along with it being Dairy Month. So some fun conversations that we'll have throughout the course of this hour. And if you want to be a part of the conversation at any time, feel free to give us a call on the Red Wing Shoe line. That's 701-293-9000. Again, the Red Wing Shoe line, 701-293-9000. Or you can always reach us via email. That's weatherorag@flagfamily.com, and those comment boxes for Facebook and YouTube Live, as well as Acres TV, where we live stream each and every single day. So a couple fun things we'll be doing throughout the course of the show, as well as another check on the forecast for those that are just joining us. To sum it up, what we've kind of been dealing with the last few days, we'll just repeat today and tomorrow, and then we start to warm up into the weekend. It will be a hot one. Again, we'll run down the details coming up in just a moment. Bridgette, did you shake that cigarette?
That was terrible. I mean, I've had a
that's
cold.
What I said when I smoked one. But
I've had a cold, but didn't really think it was going to come back to get me this bad today. Goodness.
Honey in the water. That always helps.
Yep, have some honey.
Hey, I'll see what I can do, folks. I'll try to make that better. Goodness. All right. So rarely have I had to storm out of the studio and hack away for a while, but it happens. And nobody likes the summertime cold. They're pretty terrible.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. So coming up on the other side of the break here, again, we'll have Marsha Van Leare on with us. If you have any questions for us or for Marsha, as Justin was saying earlier, 701-293-9000. Again, that's 701-293-9000. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And for as many times as I give the guys a lot of grief about their stuffy noses, colds, licking the doorknobs, now it's my turn to take it.
Wait,
Oopsie.
Licking doorknobs? Is that what
Well,
you said?
that's
Which
what I
doorknob got you?
That's
Yeah, you guys are always sick, and usually I'm not. And this time it was me. So, anywho, today we are happy to talk with one of our Here We Grow sponsors. And to those sponsors who participated with us in our custom farming 20 acres of corn, we greatly thank you for the work that you've done in the field. One of those sponsors is Dairyland Seed. Right now, our Dairyland Seed is probably as tall as me. I think that right now we are seeing great growth, like the guy said earlier this season, and Dairyland participates locally in their communities as well. That's why they're in a project such as this. Also, a thank you to Ellingson Drainage. Ellingson makes sure that all that water we've had has moved that surface water away, so our plants have a chance to grow and do very, very well with the moisture. And we're going to get some more heat units. But with those heat units, that brings the potential for disease in all fields and plants. That leads us to our guest today, Marsha Van Leare. She's with Gowan Co USA. Marsha is a regular with us, and she's a sponsor for Here We Grow. And Marsha, we're going to need to talk about some fungicide. But first, you're not in North Dakota right now. How's the weather in New Orleans?
No, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama right now.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's hot. It's hot. I miss home.
We miss you at home too.
It's currently like, I don't know, 100 degrees outside, 5,000% humidity.
It's a rough
My
estimate.
husband just my husband just teed off here about an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago, for 18 holes of golf. And yeah, he was soaking wet before he started, so
Ugh.
he's got to make it through. He was on hole 4 when he texted me last time, so he should be coming up on 9 here pretty soon.
Nice.
Took the first group like 5 hours, and they teed off at 8 a.m.
Wow.
So it's a slow play right now.
Well, and I do want to recognize the fact that the reason you are in Birmingham and that your husband is participating in this is it is the National Transplant Patient Games, right?
Yes, it's called the Transplant Games of America. It is for anyone who has received a solid organ transplant, a soft tissue transplant, cornea transplant. It is for living donors. So if anybody has donated stem cells, if they have donated a kidney, part of their liver, anything like that. And then it is a very heavy focus or heavy emphasis on the donor families. So the ones that their loved ones made that sacrifice, and made that choice to, share, I guess is one way to put it.
That's huge. And just thank you for taking the time to visit with us while you have so much going on. And especially because I know that your husband's had a long road to recovery, and the fact that he's participating right now is a big step.
Yes, it's excellent. It's great to see. He did medal in his first event, which was Texas Hold'em. So he did receive gold medal in that. So that was cool.
That's great.
Today is golf singles. Tomorrow is golf doubles. And then he's doing darts on Wednesday. And then closing ceremonies are Wednesday. And we'll head home after that.
Very
So,
cool.
yay.
At least a couple.
Can't wait.
At least a couple of those events are indoors.
Yes, that's true. But it's never cold enough.
Yeah, right. I was just looking, 105 heat index in Birmingham.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marsha.
Ugh.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's brutal.
So we want to talk a little bit about corn and soybeans up here in this region. And I've got a number of questions for you, Marsha. One of them is, our corn is gaining some size, and you have kindly provided us with a fungicide for our cornfield, just like we did last year in soybeans. What's the timing for our Fiance? It's a 2 active ingredient product. What are we going to be able to stave off as far as disease in our corn crop right now?
So the one thing with the Fiance, yes, it's 2 active ingredients. It's tetraconazole and azoxystrobin. Timing for a Fiance is really V5 to tassel. That V5 application, what we're really looking for is more of a plant health type deal. The nice thing with the Fiance is that it has such a wide window of application. So we look at like northern corn leaf blight, Gossa's wilt, gray leaf spot, anything like that. An application of a Fiance is going to help protect that corn plant. The other thing, with corn plants at this time is weather.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get a hail event,
oh yes,
that would be a great time to apply a Fiance. Give it 5 days, 7 days for regrowth, and then apply a Fiance at that time.
Okay, hold on. We got to talk about the why though, because I know exactly, and I agreed with you completely when you said a fungicide after a hail event. But for folks that might be listening and say, well, why? Care to explain that in relationship not only to corn, but to soybeans and wheat? Why we think about a fungicide after hail?
So we really want a fungicide after a hail event. It's really that plant health issue. Hailstones hit that corn plant, that bean plant, that wheat plant, and that provides an entry point for any disease. So when we say, a hail event or a weather event, even a wind event, even sandblasting, if that's even happening, that it does happen still. That's an entry point. So anytime that stalk or that leaf is ripped, torn, a hole is pierced into it, it allows for disease, bacteria mostly, fungicide or fungus mostly, to enter into that plant. And that's where, if you wait 7 days, we want to get some regrowth on the plant. That regrowth allows us to protect and then also hopefully stave off, or not necessarily curative, but lessen the effects of any disease that might possibly get into the plant.
It's kind of like when you have a cut as a human and you have to go ahead and use that stingy Bactine or something like that our parents used on us to try to keep us healthy too. That's probably the great way to explain what it's like. And when you think about that, the appliance, and we're talking about soybeans, what's our staging for soybeans if you have any concerns about white mold right now? Because with all the moisture that we've got in the field and heat coming now with the amount of humidity, would you have a concern about white mold in soybeans, Marsha?
I definitely have a concern with white mold in soybeans this year. The weather is just about perfect for having a white mold infection. Appliance on soybeans, we look at that R1 to R3, and to be honest, that R3 application looks better than an R1 application. So the later that we can apply the appliance, the better off we are, or appliance works on that plant to protect that plant and protect yield.
That's going to be a big difference for us right now for protecting yield, because we do know that even though commodity prices aren't super, we have to do everything we can to keep all of our yield up, so we can at least take that to harvest. Sugar beets, Marsha, I've had the question, does Appliance have a label for sugar beets?
It does have a label for sugar beets. We have another product that I would prefer to use on sugar beets called Domark. And the reason why is because of it being both a tetraconazole and azoxystrobin. I like Domark better on sugar beets because of the spray programs that the sugar companies have out there. It is also labeled for edible beans for white mold control as well. And then it's also labeled in canola for white mold control. But sugar beets, I think they're better off using Domark as opposed to Appliance, just because of the sugar company's recommendations.
And Marsha, we got an email question that just came into our inbox talking about southern Minnesota counties right now have tar spot in the corn. Is that something we have to worry about getting this far north this year?
That would be a better question for a plant pathologist. I don't know that we've ever seen tar spot this far north.
Not yet.
I'm not saying it's not a possibility. It's moving north every year. It's something to be a watch for. I would say maybe more towards the Southern Valley, over into the more maybe northern South Dakota, central Minnesota. They need to watch out for it. Just keep an eye on it. But as far as I know, we've never had it in North Dakota yet.
I would agree. I don't think we're there yet, but with southerly winds, and that's a good question for us as far as a meteorology question is concerned. If we get a bunch of southerly winds, that's when a lot of those spores would move and have a potential problem here. So we'll see what those look like.
Okay.
All right, it is 1:30 in the afternoon, folks. We are going to hit news with local news, and then we will be back. We'll continue talking with Marsha Van Leare. She is a sales rep with Gowan USA, one of our Here We Grow sponsors. Marsha also has a history as an agronomist in sales in the region, and she knows her crops really well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about disease when we come back. And welcome back to Weather, Ag in Focus. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And we have with us our guest, Marsha Van Leare. She is with Gowan USA. They're one of our Here We Grow sponsors. I think, though, that Marsha would very much appreciate if we had sent with her to Birmingham, Alabama, a bottle of North Dakota Sweet Crude. She could probably pour that on ice, make it into a Dakota Rita or a crude margarita, something like that. Marsha, you'd be okay with that?
That would come in very handy. That would be handy right now. Beautiful.
Well, had we thought ahead, we'd have sent a bottle along with you. And for those of you who are listening and you want to know where should I get some North Dakota Sweet Crude, you can go ahead and look at their website, crudespirits.com. They're doing taste testing this Thursday, July 11th at Bottle Barn in West Fargo from 4 to 7. And then on the 12th, they're doing dual rolls at Happy Harry's on 53rd Avenue South and in Fergus Falls Municipal Liquors on Washington from 3 to 6. So catch them in a couple of different spots this year, or this week, I should say. All right. For those who have questions about corn production, Marsha's been great at helping answer those. You can reach us on the Red Wing shoe line of 701-293-9000. One of the questions, Marsha, you mentioned corn getting application from V5 to at tassel. What does tassel mean in corn production? We're playing all the quiz questions on basic corn production today.
So tassel is basically when you can see the tassel of the corn plant. Some people will say when you just see the tassel peeking out. Some people will say when it's fully tasseled, fully emerged out. When I say at tassel, it's basically when you can see the tassel coming out and you need to contact your pilot. That's when you want to put the affiance on, just for the fact that most likely, especially this year, by the time the pilot gets to it, it'll be fully tasseled.
And because it's tall enough, you're going to need a pilot.
Yes. Yes. Tassel, you very rarely, actually, I've never seen a ground rig tassel, so that's an aerial pilot. The beauty with affiance is when we talk about that V5 application, V6, V7, V8, a lot of that can be done with ground rig and mixed with herbicide, which makes it a little bit nicer because you're not waiting on anybody's schedule other than your own or Mother Nature's. I guess we always wait on her schedule.
Right.
But we're not doing any extra applications. We're putting it out as we're putting our herbicide out. It's a great ride-along product.
And Marsha, is the affiance or fungicide in general going to help improve yield, or is it going to protect what's kind of already been predetermined by the corn when it's applied?
That really comes down to more of a genetics question. My personal opinion is when we put a fungicide out at a V5, V6, what we're looking at there is we are looking at improving our yields, because it's not necessarily quite set at that time. But the one thing that we're also doing with the V5, V6 application is we're also helping with our root growth. You're not getting that when you do a tassel application per se, but the younger the corn, the more it's going down into the roots. Get down to the roots, we're mining our nutrients, we're mining our moisture, stuff like that. So we're seeing an increased yield, but we're also protecting what's already the potential there.
I see. And I don't remember if you had mentioned this earlier in our last segment, but is affiance a one-time application and done, or is it a 2 application, or can it be both?
Affiance can be applied twice. My recommendation is I would rather see affiance applied once, and then let's switch out chemistries, let's switch out whatnot, and move to another application or another product. And the reason why is because we're already getting resistance to different fungicides. Let's not build up on that. You know, we have that issue in sugar beets. We're seeing that issue starting with edible beans. We're seeing it somewhat in soybeans. So I would prefer to have affiance put out at 10 ounces at that V5, V6, that early application with herbicide. And then if the grower wants to come out at V10 or at tassel, use a different product.
I see. And is it
Rotation is key.
Right. And when you apply this to your crop, whether beans or corn, is there a certain window that it has to stay dry, or does it need water to activate? Any detail like that?
No, I mean, once it's dry on the plant, it's dry. It's in the plant. So the one thing with Aphiance, tetraconazole is extremely plant mobile. So it goes down through the leaf, and then it also gets moved through the phloem. So it's getting moved through the stem, it's getting moved down into the roots, and then back up. And then it's also protecting any new growth. So the one thing with Aphiance that I really like about it, 60 days after application, Aphiance is still in the corn plant. So it's still protecting that corn plant. And that, I think, is huge. And that is the tetraconazole portion of it. Azoxystrobin, that doesn't tend to move. That is protecting what's there. It's going to stay right there. So the old growth, where the tetraconazole portion, that's affecting any new growth that we have.
And Marsha, with all the rain that we've had so far this spring and early summer, guessing the root system on our corn is probably a little bit shallow. Now, with the hotter weather coming, would that strengthen the root system, or are they just kind of lazy where we'd have to worry about any high wind events coming along?
We hope that it'll strengthen the root system. Corn doesn't. There's a big myth that says that corn will root down to water. It doesn't necessarily do that. But if it's easy to get to, it tends to not want to overexert itself.
Neither do I.
Neither do I right now, let me tell you. As I'm like sweating off.
I know, me too.
Here.
It would be so bad there.
As we get drier, the roots will tend to strengthen up. They will tend to maybe go down a little bit deeper. The nice thing is we should be getting our brace roots now. And I guess I haven't been out to the field for a couple of weeks, but we should be getting our brace roots, and hopefully our brace roots are going down and really anchoring into the ground for us.
Okay, what's a brace root?
So brace root is, if you see a corn plant, you'll see a corn plant out in the field, and the roots are underground, but there's like a ring of fingers, kind of, I guess is the best way to explain it.
Slightly higher secondary root system.
There you go. That's a better way to explain it.
Marsha,
I like that one.
How deep will the roots on corn go? I'm sure it depends a little on variety and type of corn, but in general, how deep of roots are we talking here that they can grow down to?
That is really variety dependent, because I've seen roots go down, 18, 24 inches, and I've seen roots go like 6 inches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can go out and they can go down. It's really dependent on, soil, if there's a hard pan underneath, if it's if it's a really nice loose soil that the roots can go into. If we get a hard pan, I've seen corn on a clay knob go 6 inches, and that's how farther it can go, because it's too hard to go underneath that, or it can't get through that clay hard pan.
Right. Okay, so a listener question: what's the benefit of a fungicide? Why do farmers use it? I would say because we want to have disease prevention to keep our corn healthy. But am I missing anything in that reply, Marsha? What else would you add to it?
So putting a fungicide with your corn is, think of it as I don't want to say like a preventative, like a vaccination type deal, but think of it as a supplement, a healthy supplement that you're putting onto your corn plant to help it get through any tough situations. That's how, it's not a vitamin, it's not a mineral or something like that, but it's a healthy supplement that you're going to use to, give your corn the best edge to get through the tougher growing season. It's too cold, it's too wet. It starts to turn cold. We get through tasseling and it's, cools off, and then, or it gets too hot, and, we have maybe misfertilization because of it's being too hot. Fungicide is going to help that. It's going to protect that plant.
Marsha, when it comes to sweet corn, and this is a little off topic, or not really off topic, but away from fungicides, when it comes to sweet corn, does it grow as tall as field corn? Say if you're growing it in your garden and your corn seems a little shorter, is that normal, or is that just because the two are different, or maybe there's a third factor that we're unaware of?
It is normal for sweet corn varieties, even commercial sweet corn varieties, to be shorter than regular grain corn or even silage corn. And you can generally, if you're driving and you see cornfields, I grew up in an area where we had commercial sweet corn production, so I can tell the difference between field corn and sweet corn just by the tassel. But a regular person will see it because it's shorter.
Right.
And that is a characteristic of the sweet corn.
So we didn't get into that discussion when we were out in the field, but Marsha and I were out together a few weeks ago. We did a video talking about weed identification and also just our planting in general and timing for fungicide. So for those of you who are following us on our Here We Grow project on YouTube and Facebook, those videos are posted. And again, they have Marsha and I in them. We're having all sorts of discussions about weed ID and much, much more. We want to make sure that people put in their guesses to us as well, what they think we will be getting for yield at the end of our season. And for those who actively farm, we have a different prize for you, and that is IntelliFarms has a grain gauge that we can give away for those who are closest without going over to our bushels that we harvest. And that grain gauge is for your grain bins to give you a peace of mind and knowing as your bin fills, if your bin is full, half full, 3/4 full, just depends on where you decide to put that gauge on the bin. So, Marsha, as we start to wind down our time together, one last question. Where's the growing point for corn right now? It's above ground, but as you think about that corn plant production, would you estimate or could you estimate where you think that growing point is in the stalk on the corn? Or are we all the way to the top?
No, we're not all the way to the top yet. The growing point, do you want inches or do you want like leaf? What are we talking here?
I'd do it in inches because that's probably more easy to determine for most folks.
Oh, well, that's tough because if it's a stacked note. Okay, so when I was out there roughly 2 weeks ago, the growing point had just popped at it was right between about V6. The growing point was right above the soil surface there at about inch.
Yeah, because we saw it on that plant we looked at.
I have no idea. I'd have to be in the field.
That's okay.
I'm not making any guesses.
Good news. When harvest comes, we'll know right where it's at because that's the time we're ready to harvest. So
Exactly.
Okay. Marsha, for folks who want to know more about Aphiance fungicide from Gowan, where would you suggest they go to find that information?
You can go to GowanUSA.com, and that'll give you product information for Gowan. And actually on that website, it is geo-referenced, so my contact information will come up, and you can give me a call. You can text me. My email address will come up too, so give me a call if you have any questions on any Gowan products.
Yes, like Sonalan and Permit and Eptam and so many more, right?
Exactly.
All right.
Marsha, get inside, order an iced tea, maybe a Long Island iced tea, and cool off. Thanks for being a trooper and sticking out the heat with us this afternoon.
And good luck to Todd, to your husband.
Yes, good luck.
I will tell him that, yes, it's the first groups took 5 hours, so he's got a few hours to go yet.
All right.
Man.
Good luck. All right. Thank you, Marsha. Folks, for those listening and watching on the live stream, don't go anywhere. We have headlines and weather to recap, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for rejoining us. 151 on this afternoon. We got a rundown on the forecast coming up in a moment, but if you want to join in on our conversation, ask a question, got a couple open phone lines right now, 701-293-9000. Email is always open as well, weather or ag at flagfamily.com. And before we get to the weather, we got a few ag topics we need to run down here, and this is one that just kind of keeps on popping up. And it's about bird flu again, and that 4 states are testing for bird flu in livestock. So, Bridgette, a keyword here was livestock and not dairy.
Well, and I should specify
cattle.
it really has to do with the dairy cattle. And the reason that they're doing that is this is a voluntary pilot program to test bulk milk tanks on dairy farms. And that's a move that's aimed at making it easier for farmers to ship their herds across state lines if needed, and for public health officials to track the virus. It is fair season, and we do technically or typically have a lot of dairy animals that move to fairs all across the area. And so you need to make sure you have your clean bill of health from your veterinarian. And then also by doing this pilot program, if you were moving a herd from one barn to the other, if you have animals that are on the move to slaughter, this way you can understand where they're headed. And that pilot program will be in Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, and Texas. They are not the states that have the highest number of bird flu herds. In fact, the highest number of bird flu infected herds is actually Idaho, followed by Michigan.
Why is that, do you think?
They've just probably had the most close contact, and potentially they have the greatest concern with lack of biosecurity that has allowed that to happen. Because remember, we talked about before, it can move on vehicles and such. Yes, Justin.
Do you think it'll come down to a point where it was last year or the year before, where the fairs just didn't have poultry because they were like, nope, just don't bring it. Just leave it at home. We don't want to spread this.
So I think the difference here is that the fatality rate in poultry is much, much higher. In dairy, it hasn't been as high, at least we certainly through reportable events. And when we had the doctor who was the head of the American Bovine Practitioners Association from Ohio on, he mentioned that there's a very specific category. And this was in animals who've already had a calf, who are currently actively milking. It wasn't happening in those who were currently in a dry state or were heifers that hadn't been bred yet, et cetera. So, it's a smaller number. It's not the entire herd. It's a select group within that herd. Unlike poultry, it was the whole flock could be affected. That's just my guess.
Right. Do you know if there's been any updates on bird flu in dairy cattle, either in our area or our region?
No more states have been added. We have 11 states that have affected herds at this point, or infected herds. I did start to see stories over the weekend talking about 5 folks in Colorado that have been diagnosed with bird flu, but I don't have any of the details yet as are they just carrying it on them, because you can carry it on your clothing. Before they had someone test positive for having the virus like on their nasal passages, but they were not infected themselves. So once we have a little more detail, we'll share that. I like to hear the facts before I jump into a story. I prefer not to be the National Enquirer of Agriculture. That's just a personal opinion.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, I prefer to maybe I'm not the fastest on a story, but that's only because I like to know the whole story first. I'm nosy that way.
Right. And why don't we hit again on in case we get interrupted again with your
cough
Judas goat problem. July is ice cream month, so why don't we just recap that one real quick? Because I think there were a few details we missed out on.
It is. July is ice cream month, and this is the month to promote. You're going to see it at a lot of fairs and shows, and organizations are happy to share it. And I think that the thing to remember is that we have very few dairies left in the state of North Dakota, and we have a declining population of dairies in Minnesota as well. And so anytime you get a chance to get product from your local dairies. Remember, we've talked about Pride Dairy at Botno. We have also had the folks from Minnesota with butter. There's a place at Perham, and then there was another spot. Gosh, now I have to think about where it was. It was in southern Minnesota. Look for those spots and take advantage of buying product from them. I've been asked several times, well, isn't that a dairy? There is a dairy there, and it's not ice cream that they produce. They produce gelato, which is a little bit different. So Gowan Co is gelato versus Pride Dairy is ice cream. So just 2 different things, and you should take part in both.
Mm-hmm. Why not? And we'll kind of wrap up the show here on the forecast. I know it's going to be kind of rinse and repeat the next couple of days, but then it starts to get warmer, and in my opinion, a little too warm, as well as a little too humid. Dean, would you concur on my rough assessment on the forecast there?
It depends what you're doing. Now, too humid.
Well, I'm outside all day playing softball, so it's going to be a little hot for that activity if you're doing it all day.
Where's our crying sound effect on here?
Yeah,
we don't have one.
Yeah, as soon as you learn to put one in there, you can play it.
All right, perfect, perfect. We're looking at temperatures out there right now in the low 80s. There's a few showers and thunder showers popping up now north of Devil's Lake and west of Jamestown. Well off to our north and west, but we'll see more and more come in here as we head into the afternoon. But again, they'll be isolated. Not everybody's going to see them, but just keep that in mind if you are out and about. With highs today, low to mid 80s, and winds not that strong out of the west-northwest, 5 to 15. Clearing out tonight after sunset with lows in the low 60s. Rinse and repeat for tomorrow, low to mid 80s. With, again, some isolated pop-up storms. And then as we head through the rest of the week, looks dry and warmer. Mid-80s Wednesday, upper 80s Thursday, low 90s on Friday. So, summer. And, like Justin said, yes, it's going to be a little on the humid side as we head into this weekend. So, not the best news. But, it is July. And there's Justin on the...
Oh, that's what you were doing. I was wondering why you were stuttering.
There's Justin on the baseball diamond over the weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we don't do too well with this kind of heat, man. We're built not to we're built for cold, not for heat this far.
Yes, you are.
Personally, I'm built for feed, not for speed. So there's a difference. There's a reason why this little cow Cooper here and I look a lot alike.
Well, that'll wrap it up for the show today. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Until then, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and hopefully everybody dodges those hit or miss showers. The Jay Thomas Show's coming up next.
What was that?